Wait, is this thing on? Can y'all hear me? Okay, here we go.
Woo! Just a dash. Just a dash. Just a dash. Just a dash.
Okay, yes, come on. Y'all, I don't know about you, but I am obsessed with the theme song of Just a Dash. That it just, I don't know, it's funky. It's just everything I need it to be. Anyhow, welcome back. This is officially the first episode of season 1 of Just a Dash. I am so excited to be here on this mic with y'all. I'm going to keep saying that because this is just a dream come true. If you listen to the previous episode, you can get to know me a little bit more. It's the bonus episode. My best friends interview me. We have a good time. They ask me some very insightful questions. They kept it. I thought they were going to come with some very, funny questions, y'all. And they were like, she likes to be serious and she likes to be deep. So they came with some really cool questions and it was really dope for, for us to chat. But I'm so excited. There's so much that's in store, y'all. In this episode, Do Anything for Clout, which, is a pretty banging song. Thank you, Cardi B. Thank you, Offset. But also is a pretty valid question in 2021 with millennials, with Gen Z. Like, what would you do for clout? And really, what do we mean when we're talking about clout? And how does that tie into validation? All these different sorts of things I end up exploring with my special guest, Trey. Trey is such a special human being to me. I am inspired by so many things that he does. I learned so much from him. He's really, truly so in tune and tapped into social media, but also into humanity. And that's a rare combination when you think about it sometimes. So it was just exceptional to speak with him. And I can't wait for y'all to hear what he has to say and say what. But before I even jump into Word to the Wise, I want to give a shout out to a few people who are really instrumental in helping me get Just a Dash off the ground. Y'all, this has truly been a labor of love. It's been about 2 years. I've been thinking about this and dreaming about this and honestly just having the courage, which honestly also ties to Word to the Wise, which you'll get that in a second. I'll jump there soon. But it really has just been such a journey and such a ride. And there have been so many people that have helped me, but I just want to shout out some people that I really, this wouldn't have happened without y'all. So first person is Simone Stewart, aka Lord Scorpio. Thank you so much for creating the theme song with me, y'all. That's the voice you're hearing, that the production, the songwriting, she got every vibe, it was such a collaborative effort, and your mentality has just been so inspiring for me as I've been working on this passion project and building confidence in myself, y'all. This is truly a journey. It's one that's filled with self-love and self-care. The next person I want to shout out is Moy Lee. Moy is the one who designed the logo for Just a Dash, and that also was a true collaboration. Your patience and your kindness and your diligence was really so appreciated, Moy. And I've known Moy for a long time. I met Moy at my first job out of grad school, which was almost 5 years ago now, y'all. I've been in New York almost 8 years, which is insane to think about. But I met Moy at a Himalayan Buddhist art museum that we worked at together, and I just always loved her work. I found it so refreshing and eclectic, and I don't know, it was just, there was a sweetness to it, but there was a little bit of spice, like something that kind of sparked. And, I kind of like to think of myself that way, a little bit of honey, a little bit of sriracha sauce, so I just, I really wanted to collaborate with her, and she killed it. Thank you so much, Moy. I really so appreciate you. The next two people I just want to shout out because they know how to boost my confidence. They know how to hear me out. They know how to hold space for me. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for them. The first person is JP, who you heard in the bonus episode. JP really, he helped me kind of like organize myself in the beginning and really kind of played the role of being my producer. And he really just, he knows my soul. That's why I call him my soulmate. And thank you so much for just helping me in the moments where I got overwhelmed or in the moments where I didn't think I could do it. You never doubted I could do it. You always see me for greater than that I see myself. And I so appreciate that. It's important to have friends like that in your life, y'all. It's important to have friends who see the best version of you, even when you don't see it yet. It's great. And the other person I want to shout out is my other best friend, who you also heard in the bonus episode. She asked me about astrology, and that's Alexis J. Sands, who I call Lex, who I call Twinny, who I have so many nicknames for, my sunshine. You truly know me inside and out in so many different ways. I love that we share the same humor, and Lex was just really a pivotal person, y'all, in helping me stay motivated and also helping me feel confident and sure of myself. She laughs at almost everything I say, and that's really helpful, y'all, for thinking that you're like funny and stuff. So shout out to you, Lex. I also think you're one of the most hilarious people in the world. And I can't wait till we get to collaborate, because that's something that we just can't miss out on. So I just wanted to shout out those people. They really, like I said before, were instrumental in me getting this off the ground. They've been just so generous with their time and their talents and their support. And there have been so many other people on that list, but it really, collaboration is something that I've learned through this experience and through this project. And I can't say that it was easy. I'm the sort of person who my first instinct is honestly to do it by myself. Like I never think like I should be asking for help. And that's not it. That's not where it's at, y'all. My mom used to always say, when I found myself in those situations when I was younger, she'd be like, Dashka, you're not born on this planet alone though. And she's so right. So it's really important to ask for help and to learn from others and to grow. And, even though this podcast is called Just a Dash and it's really my brainchild, it is a conglomerate of inspirations. And that includes probably you, the person who's listening to this right now. Like everything moves me in some way. I think, yes, it's part of being an empath, but I think it's also part of just wanting to understand the heartbeats of humanity and just like what makes us tick. But anyway, I could go on forever, y'all. I could really go on forever. And I really want to get into this week's Word to the Wise. This week's Word to the Wise is from F. Scott Fitzgerald. And just for contextual reference, that's the author who wrote The Great Gatsby. I know it can be oversaturated with quotes on social media. And sometimes it just feels like there's too much that you're being flooded with. But once in a while, there's that one quote that just hits you like, poof. It just hits you in your chest and you feel it. And it sits with you and it makes you think and it inspires you. And I hope this inspires you today or motivates you in whatever way you need. It really does it for me on the heavier days, on the bad days when I'm getting to myself. I always turn to this quote. And the quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald is this: "For what it's worth, it's never too late, or in my case, too early, to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Start whenever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best of it or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of. And if you're not, I hope you have the courage to start all over again." How beautiful is that, y'all? It's poetry in so many ways. It captures the fears that we experience in life, but also the courage that we should grant ourselves to go after exactly what we want and go after exactly the things that we may not feel like we're ready for yet or that we deserve, but we do, that we know deep in the very embers of our soul belong to us already. And I love that. I love that reminder. So that's your Word to the Wise. Let me know what you think of it. And I just want to let y'all know as well, because this is just the tea. I'm podcasting from home. So if y'all ever hear sirens in the background or slightly faded out New York sounds of the city, it's going to be as quiet as possible, of course. I'm a night owl, so who knows when these are getting recorded, but I do want to let you know that you might sometimes hear background noise. You might, sometimes hear the sounds from the New York streets. You might hear the people yelling at each other, occasional disputes on the sidewalk. You might hear a train passing by in the background. You might hear a creaky water sound. There's honestly so many different sounds of New York that I've come to love and just kind of shape a composition of living here. But you might hear it in the background of this podcast, and that's just the tea, because we're podcasting from home in the middle of quarantine, y'all, and that's when all the passion projects are coming together, really. And I'm here down for the collaboration, y'all. I am down for the collaboration. But that was your word to the wise, and we're gonna skip right on over to, are you for real? For real? For real? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This segment, Are You For Real, is probably gonna be the most challenging segment for me to do every other week. There's always something going on in the world. There's always some sort of social injustice or calamity, and sometimes there's a lot of good news too. Like, you hear about beautiful things that happen, or the way that people show up for each other, even when we're thinking about someone like Tessica Brown, which will be included in this conversation I have with Trey. I think about how people showed up for this person when they were in desperate need. And of course, there will always be people in opposition and whatnot, but this is really a place to kind of let some of my opinions get a little bit looser, because I definitely can have a sharp tongue. But I'm going to start off pretty light this week. I don't really want to get too in the weeds of everything that's happening with politics, and because it's heavy. That stuff is heavy. And the only thing I will say is, I know, y'all, that we have been waiting for Joe Biden, and I know for many of us that was not our top choice or our top pick, but we're just grateful to have something universally better than what we were dealing with prior. But in the same token, now that we have it, it still requires patience. It still requires time. It's like really interesting to me when I see all these really heavy critical pieces of Joe Biden and his administration and what they're not doing and what they're allowing. Not that I'm saying that those things should continue, or we shouldn't be calling it out, or we shouldn't be critical of it. But I think that we also have to be realistic about our demands and the amount of time it's going to take for this country to be rebuilt. Because the reality is, 4 years of someone literally turning this country into a dumpster trash can and setting it on fire and literally constantly throwing chemicals in it to make it worse. Telling people to literally drink bleach, y'all. Like, it's not just about policies. It's not just about laws. It's literally about humanity. And my point is, I do think it's important for us to consider aspects of what it means to be in a new administration and what that will require of us and what that will require of our mindset and our mentality when it comes to change and progress. Because I think in America, we always want to see things immediately. It's just like the return should happen instantaneously. And that's how we operate in the media. That's how we operate with, products that we want. That's how we operate with change. And obviously, that's not working out. Because how many years has it been, and there's still all these different sorts of injustices in the world. Obviously, that methodology of wanting things immediately, of demanding things immediately, but not putting in strategy for the long term, that's messing with us. So I said I wasn't going to get into politics, and then I got into politics. Of course I did. But I actually just wanted to touch upon two broader subjects that I just wanted to share my opinion on, because they've come up in conversation. The first thing that I want to talk about is Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's divorce, which, y'all, I used to be the person who was super into pop culture, and I would constantly know the tea, and I honestly still do. I think celebrity culture is just such a cesspool of curiosity, and I use cesspool specifically because I don't think that it's a good culture that we're practicing, that we're involved in. But needless to say, I think a lot of people kind of lose their sensitivity when they think about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. And I think there's a lot of validity to that. But what I will say is, I think it's actually really, really, really sad that they're getting a divorce. And it's not because it impacts me in any way, but what we have to go by is what's happening in the public eye. And in the public eye, Kanye West is a person with great influence and a great platform. And in the same token, I see Kim Kardashian, who has, equitable an equitable platform and influence struggling in a public forum with a person who really has made no effort to learn more about the mental health issues that they have and finding ways to be more constructive about how they communicate it, whether privately or publicly, it seems. So that, to me, outside of all the scope of who Kim Kardashian is and obviously the impact that she has, which arguably could be negative and positive depending on how you look at the feminist wave, depending on how you look at the pop culture wave, depending on how you look at sex positivity. Like, I feel like people can twist and turn this any which way, but at the end of the day, what I see is a person with 4 children who probably in their world, in their construct, in their space, has really tried their best. And now, on top of having to separate from someone, they have to deal with everybody's opinions about how they dealt with this situation. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't talk shit about celebrities. I 100% do. And Kim Kardashian is definitely on that when I think about cultural criticisms and her influence. But at the end of the day, I hope that we can move forward and exist in a culture where when we hear that someone's going through a divorce, or when we just hear about a tragedy or a trauma that someone's going through, regardless of, who they are, how much money they have, what their title is, that we can just try and be a little more humane with how we respond to them and what we write under their social media feeds and what we tweet at them and what we say on talk shows and what we say in newsrooms. Like, it's kind of disturbing how people talk about that situation, how people minimize, in the same token, Kanye West's mental health. And it's not a joke, it's really not a joke. And I think of other people who had mental health situations. I mean, I think of Amanda Bynes as well. And of course, this is layered in a different way because Kanye West is a Black man. But it's really sad. And I hope one day, we can evolve in a space where when that occurs, what we're saying is, damn, I'm really sorry that happened to you. I really don't agree with a lot of things you do, but that's not relevant right now. I'm really, I wish you the best of luck. And obviously you're not going to say that directly to a celebrity, but I do think it translates into who we are as people and how we talk to one another. So when you look at people on a pedestal and you talk about them a certain way, it does trickle down into some of the actions you might take. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I know it's a little all over the place, but I just think it's a curious thing how we talk about certain celebrities who we don't necessarily respect to a certain degree for whatever reason, or we don't agree with their values, whatever the case may be. But the other topic that I just wanted to, the are you for real for this one, y'all, is just like, it's about diversity, equity, and inclusion groups at work, y'all. I know everybody has seen this soar at their job. Everybody's now having conversations about what it means to be diverse and what it means to be inclusive and what does it mean to, have equity across the board, not even with just ideas, but titles that people receive, who's at the top of the food chain and making decisions. And that sort of stuff is, how you say, controversial to me. Because here's the catch-22 of it all. I don't want to have to be the one to teach people how to value my existence as a human being in whatever space I exist in, whether that's work, in my home, on the street, on the train, whatever the case may be. I shouldn't have to tell you how to do it. But because you don't know how to do it, and I'm talking about white people who are at the top, let's be specific about it, or people who don't identify as a person of color, or let's be more specific and just say Black, because I think we try to water shit down and we don't need to. You don't do it well. You're all the way at the top and you think you know what you're doing, but you don't do it well because you're not actually listening to what people need. You're tying it into your red tape and you're tying it into your quotas, tying it into your bottom line. And when people sit there and are telling you and are showing you the sort of support that they need in workplaces, whether that's having supervisors who truly care about asking them how they're doing in 2020 and 2021 when there's a pandemic of racism taking place, and that's not happening. But you're out here talking about buying products from a Black-owned business. It just doesn't match up. I don't have a solution for that, but I just want to say that it doesn't match up. because allyship is not a theory. Advocacy is not a theory. It's a practice. It requires that you're learning day in and day out what privileges you have and don't have. And that applies to everyone. That applies to me. That applies to me 100%. I'm able-bodied. I can walk around. I can hear. I have terrible eyesight, but I have contacts to make me see. I'm not the darkest hue. That means that there are privileges that come with that. And there are also barriers that still stand in my way. But either way, that requires that I learn about how I can be a better ally to other people. And that means that I have to show up in certain spaces differently, knowing full well that I have access and power that someone else might not in order to make changes. And I really wish there was more of a comprehensive understanding of that in workplaces when we're talking about diversity and equity and inclusion. We can say a lot of stuff. That's what I noticed. It's a lot of meetings about meetings. It's a lot of conversations about conversations that need to take place. But when it gets time, when the question is, okay, what are you doing with that information? What are you doing with that survey result you got? What are you doing with the person who you put up on Zoom to cry about their experiences in another freaking breakout room? What are you doing with this information? And what is that progress going to tangibly look like? So I'm all here for the diversity and equity and inclusion groups at work. I understand that they are meant to serve a purpose in closing a gap, but I think there needs to be an acknowledgement of why that gap even exists. And that's where the conversation needs to start. It takes me back to a video I saw on Instagram, and I'll actually just share it on the Just a Dash podcast Instagram. In this clip, there's a group, it's a young white teenager who's arguing with her parents essentially about Black Lives Matter and why it matters. And her dad makes a point of saying, like, you don't know what, these kids are like. I work out in the ghetto. I know how they behave. And, they're going at it. They're going back and forth. And shout out to this young white teenager because she's really holding it down. But she made a good point of saying, listen, it might seem really awesome and really cool that this young woman is arguing on behalf of Black people, arguing why we deserve a seat at the table, why we deserve to be respected and not pigeonholed and stereotyped. But the real conversation shouldn't be about why we deserve those things, because those things are inherent. Those things are fundamental. We shouldn't have to be arguing about that. What y'all need to be figuring out is why whiteness exists. And when she said that, it blew my mind, because that's the tea. Why does whiteness exist? Why did we even create this construct of race? Why were you so threatened that we needed to create this whole world where there's marginalized people, where we had to literally annihilate groups of people, where we treat indigenous people like they're invisible, where Black and brown bodies are piling up for no freaking reason? It doesn't make sense. So when we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, I don't want y'all to do all the dilly-dallying and doing the survey results and using all the buzzwords to capture our attention. We're talking about progress, talking about long-term progress. You are eating up time with these little policies and these little promises. And I know we have to start somewhere, but make it real. Make it authentic. Really sit down and hold yourself accountable. And I'm really curious, y'all. I want to hear from you because I know there are companies doing it the right way. I know there are organizations, there are universities, there are, so many different industries where I know people are actually trying to make the right effort in terms of how they are now speaking about diversity, equity, inclusion. And I would love to learn more about them because sometimes it really feels like it's all performative. And it really shouldn't feel that way, because if we're out here trying to make progress, we've got to tell the truth at every level, peel back every layer of that onion until you get to the center, till you get to the core. And that has to happen at every level if we really want true progress to happen in workspaces. So let me know, y'all. DM me if there are companies that you've really been vibing with in terms of how they're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion. If you think they're making efforts, if they're holding themselves accountable. Adversely, please share out any that you're really not a fan of, that we really should be more mindful of and not really be supporting, because really it comes down to the dollars, y'all. Once somebody's coin is impacted, they care to do things differently. And that's not the way it should be, but it seems like that's the way it is, at least for now. So those are my 2 cents, more like 3 cents. But we're gonna keep it moving right along, y'all, because what's up next is say what? Say what?
Just a dash.
We could be talking right now, like
Chit
literally.
chatting, chit chat. What's in your
But
cup?
what's in my cup? It's tea. It's
Oh,
tea.
I sorry. I meant, excuse me. On your cup, it looked very
What's
beautiful.
on my cup? Don't worry. I was gonna lie and say whiskey. Occasionally, it's whiskey in my cup at the end of the day after 5 p.m. But it's chamomile tea. I drink tea. I'm kind of ridiculous when it comes to tea. I literally drink it
Love
5 times a
tea.
day. It's like my version of coffee, basically. But on my cup, I collect a lot of mugs. This one is not mine, but it says, "Mr. Osborne, may I be excused? My brain is full."
Oh,
Which, honestly, true.
there you go.
True.
I gotta go. I need to go.
I gotta go. I gotta dip. My brain is just like overwhelmed right now. Okay, so first of all, because I haven't even introduced you yet, Trey. But you are.
Hi.
I just want to let people know that Trey is wearing. I thought he was wearing this beautiful fur shaggy coat. He has catfished me all. But I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Please tell the people who you are, what you love to do, why you love to do it, where you're currently at, what your life is looking like. Just tell them the whole thing. I will say Trey has one of my favorite Instagram bios on
Yeah.
online right now that literally says that I am a production and it's tea.
That's
So please
it's the
introduce
tea.
yourself to the people.
Yes, of course. So, if anyone was curious, I'm wearing I believe, a TJ Maxx comforter or a cover, and Dash thought I showed up in full regalia, which I will
I
take and I
mean,
honestly accept. But hi, everybody, my name is Trey Vane. I am 24, and I grew up right outside of DC, Alexandria, Virginia. It's called the DMV. No, it's not for cars. It's for
a
it's for the
common
chicest,
misconception.
a common misconception. It's just the birthplace of some of the chicest people in America. And what am I? If I had to say what I was, I think I was my purpose, my passion is to make people smile. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's hard to figure out exactly what I want
Love
to do in that
that.
space. Thank you.
Precious.
But I'm currently a grad student. I'm going to the University of Southern California, obviously not physically, studying digital social media. I've worked in marketing, I've worked in hotels, I've worked in the record label industry. So I want
Wow.
to try it all
He's
before it's my time
seasoned.
to go.
He's seasoned. He's
Yes,
eclectic.
yes, yes, exactly,
But I love that
exactly.
because I definitely think that, I mean, you know this about me. I'm an event planner, but I
Yes,
currently work in higher education, but I've done so many different sorts of events, corporate events, weddings, freelance. I think it's definitely important to kind of just dip your toes into many different areas and
yes,
passions
experience
and
it.
not really get stuck, in one place or on one profession. I think that's definitely a common thing with our generation. I'm going to loop us in together on this one because I know it gets separated
Please
between
do,
millennials and
please
Gen
do.
Z. Listen, I've had to correct some Gen Zers. Let me be real with y'all. But but in this, I do think
I
that that's
honestly,
something
yeah.
I admire that about Gen Z, that y'all just go after what you want.
I had to have a moment with myself of thinking of, growing up, I never went to concerts or I never like went
Mm.
to events and that kind of stuff. So like I grew up thinking like you live your life and you engage in content and you enjoy it. And then as I got older, especially as I got to college, I started to realize like, whoa, it's not like you're born on one track and stay there. It's like you can get into anything you want to get into. And all these places that I thought were like glorious, shining, amazing, untouchable places, like I thought they were Mount Olympus, are just office buildings and you can finagle your way into them any way you need to know how. But I was like,
That's real. That's very real. And I mean, you bring up a really good point, I feel like, about growing up and what you're exposed to. Like, I feel, especially
yeah,
as like children of color, there's like ways that you're limited in your childhood that you don't even think about, honestly, or recognize. I know for me growing up, I loved theater and I loved the arts, and I was very much, I grew up in a very middle class family, and it was very much
hmm,
like that's a hobby. That's not something you pursue.
hobby,
That's a
hobby.
hobby. You're not going to
Yeah.
make money in that. That's not going to be a stable lifestyle. And for a while that dictates the decisions you make in in the more formative years of your life, and even as you're going to college. And it's not really until now where I'm like, no, like you can make up any rules. Honestly, the
Yeah.
whole,
Yeah.
literally, let's be honest, the whole world is a construct that we created. So we could
And a
literally
construct
construct.
that's crumbling. Like it was literally a point where
Tea,
it was literally a point where
true tea.
I was like, I probably have like I might have only like 10 more years to do what I want to do before I have to go back to being a
Honestly,
hunter
at
gatherer.
this rate, it's true.
Yeah, it's
We are kind of
true.
moving backwards, and we're kind of moving forwards though, because I feel like with COVID, the Earth like took a breath of fresh air because a whole bunch of
Yeah,
humans weren't out in there, doing too much. So we'll see what happens when we return to that. But I
totally.
love that, and I'm so thankful that you're here with me on this first episode. I reached out to Trey all
Yeah.
because this first episode is honestly about what we're talking about. It's about how you seek validation, but also how you try to balance that with passion projects. And he is the first person I thought of because, and to give you all a little background on how I know this production
Yeah.
that's sitting across from me,
Production.
I work in higher education, and Trey went to NYU, that's where I work, and literally he was one of our student ambassadors, and I was not his direct boss. I think I was like the ambassa auntie. We could just simply
Yeah,
say that.
totally.
I was
Totally.
definitely the
Cooler
one
older sister.
who let them go get away with like things they shouldn't be doing.
But also
um,
was the first one to be like, okay, everyone, we had fun in the pre-show. It's showtime. Let's get it together, please.
100%. That's part of the job, though. Like, y'all can have a good time and stuff, but like, you're still the events assistant. So it's time to get it done. It's time to get the work done.
We
Okay, I
gotta
need you to
go.
focus. So, but
We
I
have
mean,
5,000 people. We gotta go.
but Trey was just. First of all, Trey was one of my favorite people to converse with in the office. I loved talking to all the students because I just think it's really cool. That's how you learn. You learn from people who are older
Hmm.
than you learn from people who are younger than you. But I loved talking to you in the office because you would always talk about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Trey loves conspiracy theories, y'all. And
Thank
I
you.
I honestly don't know much about them. I'm the sort of person who it's like I'll dabble. Like I dabble in such
Dip
things.
your
Like,
toe in. Yeah.
yeah, I'll dip my toe
Hmm.
in, and it's like, but when it gets too deep, then I'm just like, okay, that was really cool, but I'm just gonna stay ignorant. I feel like
I
that's possible.
honestly, I honestly truly feel like conspiracy theories operate sort of like hardcore drugs, where it's kind of like I see like I'm team like let's call them marijuana conspiracy theories. Like
Okay.
you can get into them, you can learn all the one you can have fun while you're learning about them. You're not hurting anyone. I will have to say that there are so many like hard drug conspiracy theories that are like hurtful and like outwardly like
Hmm.
debilitating. And I just want to I'm not one of I'm not a Q member at all. I'm more into like the I
Thank you
have to
so much.
specify.
You have to
You have
specify.
to. You literally
You
have to
do.
specify. But it's also interesting because I think in a lot of ways, conspiracy theories and passion projects are kind of one and the same. Because you get these people who
Mm.
lose themselves in the conspiracy theories because it's something that they've never experienced. It's like all the reasons you love passion projects. Something you've never experienced before. You feel like a secret agent. Like it's like really intense, but it's all about sort of like pairing it back. And then I feel like people are more we need more, at least I need more experience with like leaning into my passion projects rather than my conspiracy theories because those are the ones that are really going to help you out.
Wow.
But it's the same idea. It's the same idea of
Right.
like interest and intrigue.
It's like the
And
same high that you get from it almost in
yeah,
a way. But
totally.
that's curious, and a curious like thought to think about also. And that kind of like shifts us into our conversation because I was so now that you're saying that about passion projects and conspiracy theories being the same, I feel like conspiracy theories almost add this sense of understanding and knowledge and help you understand
Yes.
kind
Yeah.
of like pick apart the weeds of something a little bit more. But now that you say that, like it's very interesting. Like starting this podcast for me it's almost been like an exercise in self-care. Like
Yes.
I have to learn how to edit. I have to learn how to make time. I have like these giant calendars for episodes and scheduling and guests and it's like a solo project but it's also like this thing that kind of encourages you, to feel
Yeah.
capable. And there's
Yeah.
something really exciting about that. But in the same token, I remember when I was starting it, it was very much like people would ask me like how are you going to market it and how are you going to get guests to
Oh,
be on there, and it was very much like how are you going to monetize it, how are you going to
exactly.
capitalize off of it.
Exactly.
And so, I think a lot of people would say about millennials and Gen Zs, like that we are. Well, I looked up the definition of validation because I was like, really, like
Oh, okay.
everybody needs some aspect of approval in their life. Like, there's nothing necessarily imbalanced about that, but I feel like validation
Absolutely
is
not.
seen like this terrible buzzword. Like if you say like you seek validation, right?
Right, because
So
people think, like, when you're seeking validation that you're willing to, like, act a fool on the internet for, like, a coin, when it's like, no, it's all you
exactly,
want is that, like, I just wanna be able to put something out that people are like, "That was great to see, great to notice." We all love watching content. I feel like the idea of, like, I just wanna produce content that people interact with the way I do because content is a very,
mm,
like, healing situation for me. I feel like that's the pressure of projects. You're like, "I just want it to be so good," when the truth is, like, it'll be good if you just do it, like, it's
right.
fine.
And if you have fun with it, okay. So here's the definition. Here's the definition: recognition or affirmation that a person or their feelings or opinions are valid or worthwhile.
That's so important. That is
I
so
yes,
important.
I don't think that that's bad. I think sometimes we
No,
think that is
no.
I don't think that it should ever be imbalanced. I remember the days of, like, when Instagram started. I feel like I just sounded like a dinosaur saying that, like, back in the diggity day, when
Diggity
Instagram was
day.
like a thing, I legit, like, first of all, y'all, when Instagram started, I did not have an iPhone. I got an iPhone when I got out of grad school because I reject
Period.
technology, period.
Period.
But
My
I
friends and I are always like, because I'm like, I had a phone. Okay, so my mom was a single mom, so she had to call me to pick me up after school. So I had a phone
mm,
from like the fourth grade, but got like a
mm.
internet connected phone in middle school, and it's just way too early. Like me and my me and my
Your
friends of mine
life
always joke
changes.
about we're not getting our kids phones until like high school maybe because it's just too much. Like there's no
I
need for
didn't have a
someone
phone till high school. I had it
smart.
at 14, but you know what? It makes sense. It's like it depends on the environment you're in, but I do agree that internet on a middle
Yeah,
school.
it's bad situation.
Imagine now, like middle schoolers with internet on their phone. Like
They
it's
they could see, I don't know, they could see monstrosities being committed on Twitter, murders. There's a lot of murder on Twitter, and I think they need to fix that. Like, I've seen too
oh
much bad stuff on Twitter.
now they need to fix that.
They do, like, they do.
Probably. So, oh my gosh, and I'll also have everyone know, and I think everyone knows this who knows me in real life. I'm the queen of tangents. I am literally that person where
Yes.
people will literally say to me, like, I have to ask people, like, what were we talking about?
What was the original
What was
objective
the
again?
original objective of this conversation? Because I don't know how we ended up here, but I love it, but I like it.
Having a great time.
Oh my gosh, I'm having a great shout out to everybody. I had fun. um,
Yes! Iconic MC Deborah.
um, okay,
Yeah.
but steering us back. So as we're talking about this, I feel like validation is this thing that people often kind of, and I kind of understand why people are weary of wanting to seek out validation because, as I was saying, I remember when Instagram started and like when someone got like over 100 likes, that was such a thing. And now you have people
Yeah.
literally buying followers. You have people buying blue checks. Like I
Mhm.
worked in digital engagement, early on when I got out of grad school, and to see what it is now and to see how it is tied into marketing campaigns and
Yeah.
advertising and PR and how there's this side of it where we use social media and we use the validation of the things that we like or the products that we buy into. And it's very much for spreading this message of like, almost unity in a way of community of
Mhm.
understanding each other and wanting to build something greater and to spread the message on important issues. But I feel like on the other side it is this sort of pool of manipulation, and I
I
think
think
that's
that's
it
fair.
can, I think there's this space where it's almost like how much of this validation is also influencing how people see themselves because it sometimes becomes
Yeah.
this oversaturated market, even when it comes to mental health. Like, I feel like sometimes we'll see all these
Oh,
inspiring quotes all the
totally. It's a
time.
market. Mental health
And
is a whole market now.
you're like, but I don't feel this way, but I should feel this way. And maybe if I
Yeah.
save all these posts, I can look back at them. Like, I feel like it's such this delicate balance of finding validation in those spaces. And, I'm curious how you balance that because I feel like that's something you do so well and something that you enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, social media is it's one of those things where I feel like I feel like I'm the last person on the other side where I can so appreciate and recognize that yes, social media, I mean, it's impossible to deny. Social media has done some irreparable harm to our society. Like the basic fact that people get famous off of being horrible people, that's bad. That's terrible reinforcement. Terrible. That's why
Mm,
we have all these people being like, I don't know, like fake, I don't know, fake bad, like, like fake cloudy. People like really get famous off of being like a lot, like the most on the internet. And I understand how, and I think that's most people's perception of the majority of the internet. But like, I always have loved the internet. I've always loved the influencer world. I've always loved all of that. And but like not understanding that how messed up it is. But I think there's something so, everyone always says like, what was that famous study that was like now the number one job that kids want is to be an influencer. It used to be like, I don't know, something like in the 50s, it was like astronaut or it was like president, but now it's influencers and people see it and people see that and like
not
have
astronaut. I
maybe, I
can't.
don't know. I heard,
It's probably true. You're probably right. What
it
do I
probably
know?
is
I'm
true.
definitely I'm not the expert.
I have no idea. Maybe car salesman. That's what I wanted to be when I was younger. But but it's now
Wow.
everyone's like, oh, it's so sad that everyone just wants to be influencers. But I think the opposite. I think that hope and like something to strive towards that's healthy, very specific,
Mm,
very, very important.
it's
I
got to
think
be
that's the
balanced.
I think it's the best thing you can have for your soul. Like having dreams, wanting to work for something. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone who's like, I want to work for something to build a community and to. And the problem is most of the bad influencers don't. But I think a lot of people forget most of influencers do have pretty great, amazing, non-toxic communities. There's like toxicity everywhere, but I have always been like, listen, this balance, like the how to get like validation without being obsessed with it. I've now been starting to experience it because on the past year I started making my own content a lot and like pushing it out and going on TikTok and Twitter. And I think the thing to keep you whatever leave your head on straight is just knowing what reaction you want from people. That's all the internet is trying to
Mm,
garner reactions. And if you're going for exposure and then that's your goal, that's when it's going to start getting rocky because you're going to realize that the more crazy stuff you do, the more exposure you do. But I try to always approach it as like, what's my goal? My goal is to make someone smile, take the weight out of this crazy chaotic world off of them for a second, and they keep going. And so
yeah.
then, in that where like that's why I'm like making a lot of great positive dumb. It's just dumb. It's empty. It's like the simplest stuff in the world, but it's just fun. And it's not like tinged with, make me money famous, make me money, or it's not like evil intentioned. Intentions are so important.
Yeah, I do think intentions are so important. And I think you make a really good point in terms of just kind of simplifying why you're doing what you're doing. Like I kind of did
Right.
something similar with this podcast, instead of thinking so hard about like what big name guests I can get, I was like, let me find people who I
Right.
just enjoy talking to. And, it's not
Yes.
necessarily about like reaching like 1,000 people, even like, I'm happy if one person listens. Like, this is an outlet to express yourself and to find joy. And
Yes. Yes.
I almost feel like when shit comes from the right place, that's actually how it grows more organically and how it becomes something that's actually more profitable, but in a way that is still it still feeds your soul, and it's still
Feeds your
and I
soul.
and I think that's the balance that's important. And it's when you were talking about like making people laugh and people being themselves, for some reason the two people that came to mind for me were Ricky Thompson and Bretman
Yes.
Rock, because
Yes.
they
Yes.
literally are making a platform for themselves by literally being themselves. Like they're just themselves. They're
Just
hilarious.
chilling. Yeah.
Bretman Rock is like bombastic, and what's really cool too though is even though someone like Bretman Rock, entered this, I mean, he's an influencer. He's a beauty influencer, but he has gone
Hmm.
above and beyond that now. Like he literally talks. He has like a plant garden. He talks about his family. He talks about his hometown, what it is like to grow up in Hawaii, what it
Yeah.
was. He has a show now on MTV. Like it's insane how his platform has grown, and it's simply by being himself and never apologizing for it. Always being forthcoming about it, and
Yeah.
also being honest about their imperfections. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing kind of seeing. I love watching people like that grow. I love and you root for them. I
It's
always
because it's
freaking
the
root for Ricky
yeah.
Thompson, man. He's
You
hilarious
will
to me.
always, because he always like you can just tell that he's just sharing a part of himself with the world. And honestly, like if you ask me, the influencer thing is just it is just the new American dream. I don't care if people don't want to hear that, but that is like the idea that like something out of nothing, something out of nothing now is no longer like, work on the railroads or like build a
Mm-hmm.
bank or whatever, because the banks have been built, the railroads have been built. Like now it's like, if you want to make something out of yourself, you can make everything out of literally just yourself. And that's like what people's goals are now.
Yeah. And
And
that's what
like,
people are pulled more towards anyway, because
yeah,
I think people are finding power and autonomy because they are realizing
power and
that
autonomy, totally.
there's so many I think there are so many constructs in society that everyone has been raised to think is a necessity for success. And I think now more than ever, especially after last year, I think people have had so much time to reevaluate what matters to them, what's a priority to them,
Hmm.
what conversations they want to be a part of. And it's interesting because I definitely do see the downfall of the internet and of seeking validation in those
Totally,
sorts of
totally,
spaces.
totally.
But I also think for some reason, like people are becoming way more aware of what they're digesting and
Hmm.
why it matters to them. I think people are becoming more vocal about holding people accountable who have platforms and how they're talking about issues. And so I think the nature of the internet is changing. And of course, like you were saying before, like there's always going to be a pool of toxicity with people who are not constructive and not giving feedback or having productive conversations in online platforms and online spaces. But I just I know for me that was part of the fear of a podcast. It's like I'm putting my voice out there and
Right.
people may not agree with me, and that's okay. But the way people might come after me if they don't agree with me, is that something you can handle? And
Oh my
that's the
gosh,
flip
so
side of
scary.
validation. That's the flip
So
side,
scary.
that someone may actually hate you entirely, and people are savage
Yeah,
online.
it's something I've been thinking about so much this past year, just because I think, especially since we've been inside, I've been able to just keep up with what's going on in a lot of other people's like influencers' lives. And there's been some serious cancellations. And literally right now, this one influencer, like, she's being canceled hard. And the worst part is she really deserves it. It seems like she really messed up, in like a selfish way,
Ooh.
and like is not taking responsibility. But obviously, no one deserves like no one deserves anonymous bullying and hate. But like, the people
Hmm.
get the amount of people who get death threats for anything, like,
I mean, well, how
yeah,
do you feel about? I mean, I think maybe the flip side of like validation, if we're thinking it from a positive way, basically, if you feel validated, you feel like it's worthwhile, what you've said, what you've shared, what you've expressed. I feel like the flip side of that is cancel culture. Like, I feel like that would be the in direct opposition to like
about it, yeah.
validation.
I
So,
Yeah.
how do you think? How do you feel about cancel culture? I'm always curious how people feel about cancel culture.
Yeah, I feel like it's so, first of all, I feel like as a society, we don't have a standard definition of it, and we really need it, because I think a lot of people are talking about
Mm,
different things when they're talking about it. And I guess I'm specifically talking about like moments where tides of hate come towards someone for whatever amount of reasons. And I think I don't know, it's like when people move together in one group, it's scary no matter what. Like parades are scary, because if something goes left once, like you can't
That's
stop
so
it.
true.
So I
That's
feel
the
like,
fear of Times Square, y'all. Like anything can happen in Times Square.
yes,
I actively
yeah,
avoid Times Square for that reason. I'm like, any cuckoo nut can come out here and do anything to me. I don't need to be here if I don't need to be here.
yeah. So I'm always like, groups of humans are always really stressful because we are so quick to go into the mob mentality. I do think
Hmm.
an era of accountability is the only way that we can heal so much of our problems. But the issue is, even with cancel culture, I think the issue is we're having cancel culture without any accountability still. Because as many
Hmm.
people are like mad at something, there are more people who are like mad. People are mad. Like that country singer Morgan Wallen was caught on tape saying the N word, got dropped by his label, but then his streams went up 3,000%. So
Wow.
you
Yeah.
can imagine how, as a person who maybe it gets canceled, what lesson are they supposed to learn when there are equally as many angry people on both sides, giving them two different things? Like, even think about like extreme cases, like Kyle Rittenhouse, who murdered those people at the protest. Next day, what was it? Within a week, crowdsourced $100,000 to get his bail. Like,
Yeah.
that's
It's
confusing. Like that. Like, what
insane.
does
It
that
is
say about
incredibly.
anything? It's so
Yeah.
confusing.
I mean, it's not even. I mean, I even look at, if we want to take it there, like the previous presidency that we had with
Yeah,
Donald
we could
Trump, like
so
this,
take it there. Yeah.
all these things are happening online and people have all these things to say, but then it doesn't translate in real
To
life all the
anything.
time to anything.
Yeah.
Like it exists really in this vacuum, I think, cancel culture. And I sometimes wonder how productive it is to progress, because in the end, the person who's getting canceled, it's really only in one facet. Like they still somehow benefit from some sort of privilege of even
Always,
just,
always.
like, it's almost like bad press is still press.
One
Like I
thousand
feel like that,
percent.
I feel like
One thousand
that's
percent.
what it turns into. And it's strange. And it's like, I think cancel culture, the only time I do think there are certain extremes where I'm just like R. Kelly, my man just doesn't need to be, he doesn't need to exist in anybody's
I feel like,
vernacular.
I
Like,
really feel like the true cancel culture is ignoring. Like, the true cancel culture is like, you don't get any
mm,
point from me. And in many different
yeah.
ways. And
It
it's, yeah,
ties
it's just,
back. It ties back to your definition. It ties back to the fact that we don't have a clear understanding
right.
of what cancel culture should include and what it should preclude, and how do we behave in those sort of situations. And I do feel like often people, kind of how you were saying about mob mentality, it it is so interesting how people just jump on certain bandwagons of hate, and without really doing some sort of critical thinking or critical research about a situation. But it is, I do agree with you, actually. It's really interesting in terms of, I never thought of it that way, that the true cancel culture is really just not interacting or engaging with someone. But that
At
is so
all.
true. It really is true, because I remember when that whole situation happened with Chris Brown and Rihanna, my response was to be like, you know what, I'm not listening to this person's music anymore. I'm not purchasing it. I'm not putting it on my playlist. And I have stuck to that. Like I have no idea what's going on with Chris Brown's musicality. And I have no interest to, because I think something that people do, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying about striking a balance with personas. I don't know everything, about Chris
Yeah.
Brown. I don't know everything that he's been through, or really what led up to the situations he has found himself in. So I
Hmm.
can't really have a true judgment of a person. However, you exist within a platform, that you exist with a platform, I should say. Like, you have a platform and you're fully aware of that. You're cognizant of that, and you're cognizant of your influence. So
Hmm.
now, really, I have to base my judgments and my understanding of the actions you choose to present out to people.
Yeah.
And you often are not remorseful. You continue to have the same patterns of behavior. And so to me, it's almost like this isn't a person that is contributing to something good with the power that they have. And not entirely, but in a facet that's important. Like when we're talking about gender disparities and how men treat women and all these sorts of things, like, it's like something I just can't get behind. So it's almost like
Yeah.
I lose interest in it. It's like, you know what? I actually can't separate you from your music, because those things become tied together for me.
So it's just like, it's just what every person wants to do with their time and with how they're. But I think that's because I'm a reaction based person. I am not a like action. Like, I'm not a, what do we do to this person to make them think? I'm like, what can I do after this to make sure that everyone that I care to be cared for in this situation can be. And that is just,
I love that.
my little
I mean,
stand heart.
that's important. And there's
It is.
obviously not a little I feel like also that there's room for all of that, and I think that's something that
Yeah.
I definitely learned. I mean,
And
last year,
I respect the people
yeah,
who are like really
you
the
need
accountability
both.
people. I
You need
respect them.
both. And
Yeah.
I think there's so many different lanes that exist on which will actually like transition us into what I'm so excited to chat with you about, which is
Oh yeah.
celebrity influence and validation. Like
Oh,
I'm very,
it's
I'm
my that's
gonna,
my whole tea. That's my
I know
whole
that's your whole tea, and I know you know more than I do, so I'm about to
tea.
learn. Please school me. So I'm gonna name out a couple celebrities that I
Fun.
celebrities that I think have lately, I don't know if you've noticed, this is maybe has always been a thing, but I feel like it's something that has grown more and more and more. Celebrities to me it's almost like a pageant contest where I feel like they have some sort of platform that they
Mm.
stand for, and that they have to promote alongside
Mm.
their talent or their art, or that they have to now get
You're
involved in these
right. You're literally
conversations. So
right. You're
so
correct.
I'm gonna name a few, and I asked some of my roommates to help me because they're dope. And some of these, by the way, I mixed them up because what I found is there are some celebrities, excuse me, their platform, it's kind of based on their own personal experiences, right? I think
Right.
some of them come out of their own trauma, but then you have people who just now, they either find a need to become involved in the conversation because it's demanded of them, or their community calls for it, or they just like to have fun with it. So I'm gonna name off a few people.
Okay.
So we have Demi Lovato, who, she's
Miss
active when
Demetria.
talking about politics. Not Demetria.
Miss Demetria. Miss Demetria
Oh my
Lovato.
God. Come on, Camp Rock. And she, she has so many different platforms, whether it's, talking about politics or mental health. Specifically, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. The next person I'm tossing in here is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has, for some reason,
Mm,
become, the next LGBTQ rights activist boss lady. I'm definitely curious of your take on that. We have Cardi
yeah.
B. I
Oh,
think what is
love,
there to say? Like I fucking love Cardi B.
love.
Um and Billie Eichner was someone that I thought was so interesting. Chrissy Teigen. I thought that was really interesting because Chrissy
Mm,
Teigen to me is I don't really know what her platform is. I feel like she just likes to talk shit about a lot of things, and that's how she brings attention to it. And that's not a bad thing. Um, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle recently, like all his specials, it's not even funny anymore. Like he's just dropping tea. And then the last two people I have on here are Justin Bieber, who
Okay.
Justin Bieber is also an interesting one, but he's spoken out about depression and anxiety, and he's even got a bit of a spirituality kick on there when you look at his
Oh,
social
a
media.
bit. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Woo!
He's like the leading missionary globally, probably. He's like all
He's the
about the
youth
love of God.
pastor. He's
Yeah,
he's
he
the youth
is.
pastor,
He
literally. Like
is.
he's
Go
making up
off,
the new
King.
Christian rock songs, and
Go off,
and
King.
better for him, I guess. And then interesting enough, AOC, one of my roommates, my roommate Molly Malls, she was like, she kind of considers her to be a celebrity and an influencer because she's one of the first
1000%.
politicians to be using, social media and TikTok to kind of reach different generations and kind of inform people about politics. So I named out all those people, and it's a mix of people who I think are controversial or people really enjoy that they have a platform or have found them to be provocative in good ways. And I'm just curious, like, what's your take on the influence they have, and do you think that people who have influence, like the names that I've
Yeah.
listed, that they are being mindful of how they're sharing out information and how how they are informed themselves and how they inform others about the platforms
Yeah.
and the issues that they're passionate about.
So this was so interesting because most of those people are music artists. And I have a very personal and very, very strong sort of conception of the American pop star because societies need myths and societies need like we if we don't have the royal family and like we're really good at hating our politicians. And I feel like the pop star is probably like the best, most intensive 360 cultural product that we've created. Because if you think about it, right, we have athletes and we have actors, and athletes and actors are so famous, so
Mm.
important, but they are not as required as specifically music artists to share everything. Specifically thinking about Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl, and everyone was like, "Yeah, he is a Trump supporter, but he's the GOAT." Right? Fine, whatever. I
Yeah,
don't
that
care.
was such
I
a
have
mind trip. And I don't know anything about sports, but I knew that. And that was just like,
right, right,
and that was just
right.
like, why? Why are we not holding people to the same standards? What's happening here?
It's because we hold influencers and music artists at the highest standard. So I think that music artists and their like good works, I'm a little bit nicer to them about it because they literally have to. Like they literally have to. And if you don't, you just look kind of stupid or dumb or young. Like for example, like I'm sure Chloe and Halle do a lot of great stuff. I haven't heard a lot about their philanthropic efforts because they're still working and grinding. But once you get to a certain point, you have to. So I would say specifically for people like Demi Lovato. I don't know much about her. I always have loved her. I've always been rooting for her. And I know that she's one of those people, like you said, there. She took her scandals and made them her platforms, which I always think is great because everyone was like, oh, you're a mess and yada yada. And people were really unfair to her. And so she just took that and is doing good, which I think is amazing. Justin Bieber, if I had to guess, again, I don't know these people. If I didn't meet them, Justin Bieber, I think, is on the other side, minus the faith thing. He loves God and he's pushing that to the day he dies. Love that for him. But like, I remember when in Black Lives Matter, which wave, because there's been like seven, because
Right.
terrible things keep happening to
Honestly,
Black people.
literally.
Um, literally, but I believe this was the last June, and Justin was like, Black Lives Matter, yada yada, and people are like, oh, you're just saying that when you're this little like white boy who does R&B, yada yada, and he was like, no, everyone, we're forgetting that my first foray into America and into the music industry was in Atlanta, Georgia, and because that's where he was living for like 2 years before they made his like first
Right.
song. That's like Just Full Amount. So I think that like for people like that, it's like great, it's amazing, and like they're doing good stuff. Taylor Swift is such an interesting, loaded pop character in my mind,
And figure, indeed.
because I see both things. I am so sure now, since she's a little bit more grown, that Taylor's not trying to hurt anyone. She's really trying to do her best. But I think when she was growing up, she was doing all these amazing stuff, but I always felt like she would do all this great stuff, and then she would never get to the edge of being like acknowledging that she is kind of like, the vision of young white woman America,
Yeah.
which has not been kind to a lot of groups in America.
She was out of
And
touch. There was a level of ignorance for sure.
I would have loved to see her do more. Like I remember when it was like, oh, her squad, and it was like 27 people, 27 white women, and like Uzo Aduba, and people were like, where are
so,
your
so
friends?
bizarre.
Where are your
So
Yeah,
weird.
where are your friends of color? So it's just like I don't know, but like,
But
but then
it's weird
again, like
though, Trey, because I don't think Taylor Swift. I don't even think Justin Bieber. I don't think. I will say I don't think pop stars or musicians that do not identify, as a person of color. I don't think that they're honestly trying to do harm. I think at this rate, they
right,
really are trying. They understand that they have influence in a way that can make a positive change. However, I think they're constantly learning. And so people are constantly
yeah,
making mistakes and constantly slipping up. I mean, even when I think of Justin Bieber, most recently complaining to the Grammys that his recent album should have been an R&B
yeah,
album. I'm like,
yeah, that was the moment.
what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, let's ask your question. Let's ask your song back to you. What do you mean? Like, I don't, what are you saying right now? What are you saying? Like, but then
Yeah,
I
I feel
also,
like yeah,
it's weird, but in the same token, like, this is a person though, and I was talking about this with, my roommates as well, with my friends, like, Justin Bieber thinks it's okay to do that because Usher allowed him to do that. Other black people literally co-sign that sort of mentality. I mean, I look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is doing a lot better, but I mean, she went from having a posse of several white women to having Todrick Hall as one of her best friends. And then all of a sudden now, she has music videos where she's all about gay rights and she's all about talking about
no.
equality. So it's so jarring sometimes, but I think the reality is that these people are probably learning at the same pace that a white woman,
Yeah,
a white person, a white woman, a white man who isn't famous is. The only difference is that they're literally on a public platform, and
yeah,
people are constantly looking to what they say as being fact versus something that they should explore more or be critical of, in a constructive
yeah,
way. I think there's a way to do it, but it's so interesting what you're saying, because I really don't think they're here to cause any harm. But I think I've always kind of had a
yeah.
critical eye of celebrities and
Because
just
I think there's
how
some
they're human.
validity. There's some validity in both sides. There's some validity being like I'm always seeing like terrible things happening on a global scale. There are so many things that
Hmm.
I don't talk about because either I don't know about them, or it just is not, it's
Or
not
it's
in my
overwhelming. It's almost so
yeah,
much to manage everything, every issue, every every injustice, every
every ongoing
aspect of,
crisis.
right, every
Yeah.
ongoing crisis. It's difficult to honestly be aware of every single thing that's happening, and also yeah, it's difficult, and I don't think we should have that expectation of celebrities, because I don't think we should have that expectation of people. Like, I just think that that's
Right,
unrealistic, truly.
right.
But on the flip side, I know the reason that maybe I've had that mentality. I think less so. I definitely used to be the person who my friends would go to for like updates about celebrities and like what's going on
Hmm.
in their life and what they're doing, and why they should do this and why they shouldn't do that. And I definitely realized over time, like, it's just unhealthy to hold people to that sort of standard, because I wouldn't want to
It's kind
be.
of weird.
I don't envy
Weird.
that whatsoever. I don't want to be in that sort of position. But I do very much think that with great power comes responsibility.
I
And
agree. I
just to
agree.
quote Spider-Man, shout out to Marvel, but, but shout out to Marvel, but literally I think about it, and I think about celebrity culture quite frequently, because it's really bizarre, y'all, that we
It's an
literally
interesting moment, yeah.
pay people, or people get paid, we don't do it, but they get paid to go literally take pictures of people in supermarkets or walking down the street or getting into their cars simply because they made a film or they dropped an album.
Oh,
like
oh yeah,
like
paparazzi. Yeah, that
this
whole situation is
fascination,
the weirdest thing in the world, to be honest.
it's just this strange fascination we have with people who decided to showcase and share their talents with us. That's all they decided to do. Like, they didn't decide
I
to,
never thought
like,
about that. That's a good point.
they didn't decide, to, and now that's just become a part of celebrity culture. But I don't think originally, like, it was like you have to have a platform or you have to speak out about these things, but now it's an expectation. They
It's
know
like why
that.
we have tiki torch companies having to release statements denouncing white supremacy. We're just in a
Literally.
weird time where it's like, what are like I don't know. It's just so it is weird and unhealthy that we are, I don't know, we just have such high standards for everything. And I think it's because a lot of us people love being mad. People love being mad. People love pointing fingers because it feels really great when someone else messes up because it makes you feel better about yourself. It's literally all
Hmm.
hand in hand. Like there's actually no reason for like people to blow up on one random 35-year-old. Not like now, here's the thing though. And go back to what you said that was so important. That's like, yes, big what did you say? Big something
With
comes
great
big response.
power comes great
Thank you.
responsibility.
I do agree that big platform, big responsibility, and I think that if you are of a certain level, like like you said, pick one thing that relates to you and run with it, babe. Like you don't need to give us an update on everything that's going on in the world, but I do agree, like you can't. But I also agree with that with people. If there's someone in my life who like seems to be standing for nothing, like I'm not into that either. Like why don't you care about something? Like one thing, like you don't even have to make it
Right.
your whole life. Just like you can't be ambivalent about suffering, all
And
suffering. You can't
I
do
mean,
that.
it's important for people to be mindful, and I think this is like, and I'm saying all these different things, but to be clear about where I straddle with this sort of situation when it comes to celebrity culture, I do think it's important for people to speak out about certain issues, only
Same.
because the audiences which you capitalize upon are dealing with those issues directly. You profit off of
Yeah.
them. I think about specifically, I remember when Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl, which was phenomenal. She was in this Black Panther attire, and it was amazing to see,
Amazing.
Beyonce
Amazing.
take a stance like that for the Black community, because
It is
I
important. It
think up
is.
until a certain point she has been understandably neutral about certain issues, but I think she is a perfect example of someone who's grown stronger in their identity and kind of being shameless and unapologetic about it. That being said, after the Super Bowl performance, the first ad that comes out was about her concert. I think it was the On the Run tour. It might have been the first
It
one.
was formation. It was formation.
Was it
Because
Formation?
she, yeah, with Bruno Mars, yeah, because she had like
Yes.
the flowers coming out of
Yes.
her,
And it
yeah,
was
mouth.
it was an incredible commercial, but then I remember like looking at the tickets and the cost, and I'm like, these tickets are like $300, $400. Who do you think is coming to your show? And if it is people from within your community, what are they sacrificing to get to your show? Like there's this weird dichotomy where it's like you can project a certain belief system and a certain mentality, but who is it for? Who are you speaking to? And I think it's important to think about in the celebrity culture, the influence you have, but how it shapes the experiences you're creating for your audience and how you're impacting them and how they're impacted
Hmm.
on the daily. And it's kind of what you were saying. Like, I do think celebrities exist in a vacuum. I mean, when the pandemic started, we're
It's
getting
so
we're getting
apparent.
all these videos from celebrities telling us to stay at home, but you're in your backyard that is the size of a football field. like.
I mean, if it's like the classic joke, because it's true, was Dua Lipa's Don't Start Now" was used as like the apparently like the UK like pandemic anthem because she goes like, "Don't go out, like just stay home." And Dua has been in Jamaica, she's been in Spain, like
Dula
she's
Peep, as Wendy Williams
Dua,
calls
my queen. So she's been everywhere, but also because it's also true because I'm imagining, right, if like Beyonce, because Beyonce is one of those few people that I just know that she knows what's going on. Like she just, and I could be wrong. Like
She does.
but
But
like
she's
I would say
strategic
like
about it. She's so strategic about it. And she's continuing to get better with her strategy about the issues and the content that she speaks about. And I think that's a
right.
smart way to do it. Like, I don't think,
And
I
even
mean,
like with that tour, for example, like I would say like Beyonce, I know for like I've known for on the Run tour specifically, I don't know about the Formation tour, but like on the Run tour, they announced a scholarship every concert to someone in the crowd. And she recently posted like she one of my friend's businesses was on her site because she like figured out actually small black owned businesses to promote them. So like she's just a lot like it's just like when the other question that I think people always like we're always asking ourselves is like what is okay to do once? What is okay, like? Can you think about everything someone does? Do you think about what they do in one specific way? Like, because like I mean, what you said could be like that's a valid critique. Like, oh, like is this just promo? But then it's like, well, it is, but also like it's doing great stuff. She has her Be Good Foundation, so every money that she, yeah, it is really difficult. I think only because I know a lot about Beyonce, and I would assume
it's
that a lot
also
of
difficult to find that balance because a Beyonce ticket is worth $300, $400. Like that's also
mhm.
this is a black woman who's understanding her value and not accepting less.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
it's tough.
yes, yes, yes,
It's really
yes.
tough. She is worth that amount of money. I mean, Beyonce is a production, so
Yeah.
so in the same
Yeah.
I say that sort of criticism, but and that ties back to what I was saying, like at the end of the day, you can't do all things right. And I do think
But I think
that's a
you're
perfect
right.
example of that.
And like your thinking is why like most people don't think like that. For example, like if you were really you could have really been mad about this $300 ticket. You could have made a thread about it. You could have tagged her. You can did everything. But no, you haven't done that because you took the time to be like, well, what do I actually think about everything? And I feel like people don't do
Mm,
that enough. And that's where really the cancel culture is coming from. Not because of like people think a specific action is like actually horrible. It's because they assume that that's the only action that person's ever taken about anything.
I just like there's certain moments where I do think like people just need to kind of back up, and I think we should hold people accountable in the spaces that make sense to. But I also think we have to allow people grace to grow and to also
Hmm.
make progress and to not constantly feel
Yeah.
like they're under attack. And I think that's a huge thing within celebrity culture. I think we care too much about like what
It's
instead of
true.
like learning
You're
and being
yeah.
critical for ourselves, we look to too many people for information that we can seek ourselves, that we can understand ourselves. Like we shouldn't I
Mhm.
personally speaking, I don't think any of the people I listed here should be your role model because everyone's learning, or at least not a role model in like all encompassing ways. Like there's something that might
Mhm.
inspire you about them, but I'm not going to sit here and put Taylor Swift at the helm of all things related to homosexuality. Like it wouldn't make sense. She's a white straight woman, like it
And
just
that way, when you don't put her on the pedestal and you don't make her feel your whole life, when she messes up, it's actually easier to forgive her and still hold
right.
her accountable than like just excuse it because you're like, oh, I get it. Like you're Taylor Swift, like I really like you for this, and like for example, like I really do love her music, especially like her first couple albums. So that's why I can be like, I have no problem listening to
True.
Taylor Swift. I don't feel bad about it.
She's
Like,
got some
you
bops,
know,
y'all. She knows the formula,
she has some
okay?
hits.
It might be
She's
basic, but that's the secret of Taylor Swift is that she makes it universal. Okay. So I could talk with you forever.
same.
But my last question, and it kind of encompasses all of this, and it's really, we've gone on so many different. Hopefully, everyone is keeping up with us because this has been a roller coaster
It's
conversation.
been fun. It's
And
good.
just a heads up, that's how it's gonna be because that's just how I am. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Cancel me. Honestly, based on our definition, cancel me. Like that's cool. That's fine. I'm not for everybody. But
I'm
I
fine.
do want to ask you the main word that like I always find to be the most vague word in the world, and I'm just kind of, not in the world, but just in context of social media is clout. You know what? How do you feel
Mm,
about clout? And like what does that even mean to you? Is it something that you seek? Is it something that you think should be sought out? Like what is and what would you do for clout? That's the real fun question. You
that
wouldn't
is the
do
real
anything for
question.
clout. What would you do?
So this is actually so I love that this is the last question because I have so much to say about it because I think clout is like clout's Clout is the suspect. Clout is the murderer.
Ooh.
Like Clout, she's the problem. Because Clout
Oh.
is distinctly different from validation.
Mm.
Validation is someone seeing you and being like, I see you, and sort of saying, like, here, like, I'm so happy you did this. I see you, connection moment. Clout is someone looking at you and more than likely dragging you or hating you or really not caring about you. They just like they physically see you. That's what
Right.
clout is. Clout is just exposure. And that is really like the root of all the problems. Because if you think about it, like all of the most like baseless, senseless, dumbest things happen because of clout. It's like that video of the
That's
girl who gets
tea.
uploaded.
No one saw
The
my
video of
face, but I definitely just side-eyed, bro.
the
Because that's
girl
real. That's very real.
like there's a video of a girl who's like giving a blowjob to a literal gas faucet pump,
You
whatever. She puts a
have to
cum
be
over it
kidding
if that
me.
helps. That's just clout.
Stop.
That's not validation. That's not
Right.
entertainment. That's just clout. There are politicians like Josh Hawley who incited insurrection for clout. Clout. And
Speak on
I
it.
think that
Speak
and
on
I
it.
think that clout is like the look over here and not caring
Right.
how people are gazing at you.
It's
That's the issue.
dangerous.
That is what is making everyone think that the internet's so toxic and dumb and vapid because it's the people because we pay so much attention to clout and not
Mm.
validation because it's like outrageous. It's like, like back in the old days, entertainment used to be like, wow, I've never seen a man spin a plate on a stick. That was so fun. But since we've seen everything, the only things we haven't seen are things that shouldn't even happen because why would you? Like,
Right.
why would you?
And now
And I,
it's become a more common thing because I feel like those
yes, yeah,
outrageous things, like I think of like Two Girls One Cup or like all these sorts of crazy
right.
things where you would just be like, I'm not going to watch that, or like you kind of don't watch it. Like it's
You
not
don't really
something you
watch it, you know
share.
about it,
It's not
right?
something that you're going to talk about publicly, that you've watched this outrageous thing. But now that's like almost the content people are trying to create because
One
it seems to
thousand
get them
percent.
further along. And like, I'm not
It
about it.
started with the
I'm
YouTube
for it.
pranksters. Always been the worst genre of
Mm,
YouTube.
poor
That
Clout.
is like the worst of the worst is where it's like clout farming. It's like those people who are like that girl who literally invented the Kanye West Jeffree Star drama for clout.
That was so bizarre. It's
That's
starting to get really
dangerous.
bizarre
That's
at
so
this point.
dangerous. It's getting
It's
weird.
incredibly dangerous. And it's like it's almost like there's this weird formula where people almost use clout to get to a certain extreme, but if they push it too over the edge, then they'll get canceled. But
Right,
if they
right.
don't push it too far, then they receive a very twisted sort of validation that we're trying not to aim for. Okay, so now that we're talking about different specific examples, I have to ask, Tessica Brown Gorilla Glue situation. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. I did. I have a lot to say about that too.
Do you think that was genuine or do you think that was for clout? Because now
Let's talk about
let's
it.
talk about it because now she's literally making it's like I don't know if you saw her most recent post, which I don't even follow her, but I was talking about this with one of my best friends, Alexis. Why am I going to follow this woman? Like I don't understand the point of that. Like I don't understand why she has a verified check. Why? It's so bizarre to me. But literally, I'm looking at this and there's a picture and I have short hair, y'all. I've had short hair now for over a year. I've cut my hair before, but you can rock a cute short haired look. I'm looking at this woman and she's like rocking my new short hair look because for anyone, well, you know what? Let's give some background.
Yeah, just a bit.
Tessica Brown is a woman who basically she ran out of her usual hair product,
Got to
got to
be.
be,
Yeah.
that she would use to press down her hair because you know girls got to have their hair laid, and she
Yeah, true.
decided to use Gorilla Glue, which is not meant to be used on scalp or skin. Like it should not come in contact with your body. And it actually, the more water or any sort of liquid that you place on it, the more sealed
Hmm.
it becomes. So
Yeah.
her head was basically, she said it felt like cement. She was not
For a
able to,
month
for
or
a
1 month.
month, y'all, for a month, she was not able to remove it from her scalp. And eventually she went on her social media and she made a very interesting video with like just it was an interesting video where she basically said what happened to her and what occurred to her and what came from that. As we always expect from the internet, you had a whole bunch of people who were concerned and people who ended up donating to a procedure that allowed in a hospital allow them to
Hmm.
get this out of her hair. And then you also had people who were just like you're an idiot. She also was contemplating suing Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue had to release a statement where they were just kind of like, well, this is interesting because we definitely say it's not to be put on, your hair and
Hmm.
on your skin. That's not the issue at hand. Like, people can have an opinion about the sort of, as you were saying, outrageous scenarios people get themselves into. This is where I kind of get thrown off. Now that Tessica Brown, she has gotten this out of her hair and she's fine now. Like, I feel like the story could have just ended there. Like, thank goodness this person's fine. Thank goodness we all, people were kind enough to donate money, I believe, to a $12,000 procedure. Like, thank goodness for all that. That's wonderful. But now she's making merchandise about it that's like stiff wear, which is like what she said in the video.
That's hilarious.
There's cakes being made. She has a verified blue check on Instagram. Her followers have blown up. Like, it's almost like she's become an influencer by making a very catastrophic mistake. And it's just like and it feels, listen, I'm not saying that if I know if it's for clout or not, that's not my opinion. I don't know enough about this person's motivation, but it's just
Hmm.
very interesting to me how quick the turnaround time was for this person to already start capitalizing off what seemed like a traumatic situation. Like, that really threw me off.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, let's get into it. Okay. First things first. I am Team Tessica Brown, and here's why.
Here we
I
go.
was fascinated by this whole situation, and I followed it closely the whole time. I was very interested because I was interested because I called it. I knew exactly what was going to happen because these things are now happening all the time. And the reason why I'm Team Tessica Brown is because I was like really paying attention to public opinion when it was happening, when it shifted. So when it first happened, it was a TikTok. She got like 12 million views in a day. Like, this was probably the most, if this episode is being listened to in 12 years and the context has faded, this was probably like one of the most significant pop cultural moments in a while. Everyone was plugged
Yes,
in. Everyone
for
was listening to it.
sure. For sure.
Um,
That was
and so
wild.
for the first video, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it was nothing but love. That's when the followers started getting in there because it was nothing but love, and people wanted to follow the situation. So that's where the
Right.
followers were coming
So
from.
true.
Then, right? So I was like, great. It was like, I would say, a week of us just knowing about the situation and talking about it with very small updates. Then she started updating more and more in the process. And I remember because the first video she put was just her like in pain and her friends kind of just like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing something. The note is that not much had changed. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad because as soon as people don't see it changing quickly, they're going to start getting bored and hate her. And so I was like,
Wow.
all right, let's
You are
look.
tapped
And
in and tuned into the social media psyche, sis.
I've
I'm
seen the
shook.
cycles.
I'm gooped.
I've seen the cycles. And so then it was revealed that like then everyone was like, stop putting water on your hair, it's making it worse. Then
Right.
she met specialists, and then, as it always does, as soon as that first interview hits, people get mad. So she did an interview with, I don't, it was probably TMZ or something or whatever, and she was just talking about like that was when she announced that she was flying to LA to get it fixed by a doctor that was doing the procedure for free. Her GoFundMe had
Right.
already been
Right.
created. So I was like, oh, then that was the second thing. I was like, third thing. So I was like, oh, she also got money that she doesn't need to use now. People are gonna be really mad about that. Which I never understood that, to be honest,
Woo!
because everyone who gives, and so then she goes to LA,
Right.
she
Right.
gets
Why are
the
you
thing,
giving
and
then?
I tweeted. It was so crazy because I tweeted. I'm actually going to bring the tweet up because it was like just so people don't think that I'm lying. I guess I
Come on,
just
fact check. Okay, yes.
this is okay. And so before like the day of the surgery, a lot of things happened. One, that was when Gorilla Glue released an official statement.
Right.
Two, that's when it was announced that she's suing Gorilla Glue. By the way, to this day, I still have never seen any proof that she's suing. I don't even know if that's true. But that was when it broke that she was suing Gorilla Glue. And as soon as the lawsuit was out, I was like, I tweeted because I said, I said, okay, so I said, I already see the tide shifting, and very soon the discourse around Gorilla Glue Girl is going to turn sour, and people are going to say that she's dragging it, only doing it for clout, which is unfair. I said that on February 8th, and February 8th was the day of the surgery.
Mm.
Then and at 2 hours after I tweeted that, it was we hate Gorilla Glue Girl because that's when the check came in. That's when the blue check came in.
Mm.
That's when the merch was announced, and people were not having it. Here's why I'm Team Tabitha. Oh, Tessica, right? Tessica.
Tessica, yeah. Team
I'm
Tessica,
sorry.
not
Team
Tabitha. Come
Tabitha.
on now, Tabitha.
I'm team Tessica, and I don't think it was for clout because there is a difference between clout farming and just making lemonade out of lemons. She
Mm.
shared that her original story to her. It was her first TikTok video. She wasn't expecting anything.
Wow, I did not know that.
Anything. She got the check and the followers after the first round because people were really invested in what was going to happen next.
Right,
And
right.
Instagram, she said that Instagram verified her because there were so many news networks reaching out to so many different fake accounts that they needed them to know it was her. Did she request
Mm.
verification? Probably. Is a blue check like is that taking food out of a baby's mouth? No, she has a blue check. So what? Who cares? She has followers. Who cares? Like she has merch. Who cares? This is something that happened to her that she just turned on its head, which we, by the way, we used to love. I.e.,
Mm.
full circle, Miss Kim Kardashian, which actually no edit. People really didn't like her, and so don't. So that's not a good choice. That's not a good example. But still, like this
Oh
used to
my
be
gosh,
like
I promise you I'm gonna start adopting edit into my vernacular while I'm
I
saying
say
it.
it all the time. I
It's
say it
so
all the time.
amazing. I'm obsessed. I
Because
truly am.
it's literally just like when I'm like, wait, hold up. Yeah,
I
so
love it though.
that's why I'm
We
Team
need
Tessica.
more of that. And honestly, I actually think that's an incredible way to close out this conversation because you just honestly the way you broke that down was exceptional and that's why I wanted you on this episode. I'm not even kidding because it's I think it's very easy to sit down and just have the information that I have and just be like, oh, this person did this on purpose, or this person like
But that's the
is
thing,
just
like I don't
seeking
fault you. It
validation
makes
or
sense that you
attention.
would think that. Yeah.
Sure, but I think it's so exceptionally important to be critical in understanding how these sorts of things roll out and how they snowball. Like
Yeah.
you even
Yes.
saying that that was her first TikTok does make a world of difference to me because that means that this person to me was probably just genuinely trying to find a platform, probably actively just seeking some sort of advice from a different community and in hopes to kind of resolve the issue at hand. And I think that is important because even with everything we're talking about, I think the greatest theme that I've gathered is that we need to have a little more empathy even when we're thinking critically about a situation,
Mm,
even when we're thinking about things like validation, and when we're thinking about things like celebrity
mm.
culture, and when we're assessing whether someone's doing something for clout, really sitting down, stepping outside of what we typically would be assumed, just being instead of being reactionary, actually sitting down, thinking critically about the situation and saying like, you know what, A, how does this really impact my life entirely and why am I letting
That
it
is
impact my life the way it is? That's one.
yeah, it
And
is. I
two,
mean there it is.
what do I gain from being vicious towards another person online? Or what do I
My
gain
goodness.
from having a judgment about whatever has just taken place online? And really trying to
Right.
move from that direction versus just kind of hopping on a bandwagon. And I think that's the same sort of mentality that people can apply to themselves, honestly, with their passion projects or with anything that they care about. Don't do it for clout. Don't do it to seek any sort of
Don't.
attention. Do it
Oh.
because it matters to you. This was fantastic, and I do though I want you to share out the things that you've been working on because I definitely think you're a person to follow and
Oh,
a person
thanks.
for people to learn more about and hear from. So please share with the people what you're working on. Tell them your social media handles, what's in store, where they
Yeah.
can find you. Please gas yourself up. Please, please, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Dash is completely inspiring me to pick up another one of my passion projects that I dropped again in my podcast. But again, like I also, I just have to say, if you came on this podcast to find a sign to do your passion project, all I have to tell you is literally do it. I have so many failed passion projects, and I'm literally so proud of all of them because
Mm,
they happened and they were
yeah.
fun while they happened. And as soon as I pick it up, it's back. I have like 3 episodes out, and I don't even care because it's great. And now I can go back whenever I want and I have the
They're
system.
great
But for
episodes. I love the episode about
thank
Disney
you,
adults. Oh my gosh, yes.
thank you, thank
Yes.
you. So if you
Relatable.
all So if you all want to take a peek at the episode, it's Prattle, Prattle, with Trey Vane. Trey's Tre. Vane is Vayne. So Prattle with Trey Vane on Instagram. You can find that there. But if you just want to follow whatever I'm doing, my handle is Trey Vane. Again, TrevaYne and bitch at the end. So Trey Vane bitch on Instagram.
Yes.
Instagram and Twitter, and on TikTok, it's Travang Bitch, but the first I in bitch is an X. So BXTCH.
Wow, a full-on brand, okay? I love it. It truly
We got to get it
is a full-on
going.
production. Thank you again so much for being
Thank you,
here. This
Dash.
was
So fun.
amazing. I love you. I'm so
Literally so
proud of
fun.
you.
I love you too.
I'm so
I'm
so
so proud of
proud.
you.
I'm so proud of you. We just keep it going. Okay, y'all. So we have made it to the end of the episode. This is the rec room, also known as the recommendation room. There's so much content that I love to just dive into, whether that's art or film, music, food, books. I really love just collecting information and learning from other people. And so it's just really cool because almost every week there's something I find that inspires me or I rediscover. There's so many ways now that we learn and grow and expand our knowledge, and the rec room is our chance to do that and to have a good time with it. So I've got a couple things, y'all, that I have just been really excited about, really thrilled about, that I kind of low-key want to geek out on, but it's not going to be low-key because WandaVision, y'all. Listen, Trey and I got into WandaVision a little bit in the middle of our conversation, and I'm gonna actually play it a little bit here. I'm gonna plug it right in here for you to listen to because I kind of dive into what I love about the show a little bit and what's exciting about it to me. I just think it's, you know what? I talk about it. So I'm gonna play it right now. Y'all can listen in to my recommendation about WandaVision and why I love it so much.
Like,
Clearly,
I agree.
someone
Like,
is not watching the Avengers, and that's okay, Trey.
you know, it's fine. My only foray into Marvel has been WandaVision, and I've been living,
Oh my
living.
god. Okay, quick tangent, y'all. Actually, no, that's gonna be probably in the recommendation room. That's another segment, but I'll cut this out. But WandaVision is fucking incredible.
I
It's
can't. I've
so
never even
good.
touched Marvel before, and I literally am
It's
like,
so well
it's so
written and
good.
so beautifully constructed, and it really showcases Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, who is truly the greatest Olsen. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it right here, but she she really is.
Wow.
I am saying it right here on Just a Dash.
So good. Like, it's just
It's
so
just
and it's the
great.
crazy part is that, like, if I were to like look at the script, nothing would have nothing crazy. Like, the lines are pretty, but I don't know. It's everything worked. Everyone showed up to work that day.
It's
Everyone
just the
showed up.
construction of it, and it's
The
beautiful because
world,
I mean
yeah,
they're
it's
going
good.
through every cultural genre of television, you
It's
know,
insane.
and
It's
they
a
do it
masterclass. It's beautiful.
beautifully. They do it beautifully, and they
Every
get
beat.
all the details right. I mean, every open. I love. Can I say one of my favorite details about that show is that they have a different opening theme song every
It's so
time
cool.
that is
So
tied to
cool.
the era of TV. It's just so well thought out and well done and just really original. It's been a long time since I've seen something original, especially in the realm of
That's what everyone's been saying
superhero
about.
content.
That's what. It's so funny because the reason why I haven't gone past WandaVision is because everyone's like, nothing else is like this in the Marvel universe. I'm like, well, I like this. I like
Right.
this.
It's
So,
great. I mean, it's great. I think the only other thing I can compare that also kind of blew my mind in Marvel, obviously, y'all, nobody come at me about Joker. I know everybody's obsessed with Joker, but that's not Marvel. But I do also really love Logan, which was like the last Wolverine movie, and it was like a complete 180 from what you would have
oh
expected.
wow,
Yeah, you should watch that too if you're interested. But
I love Hugh
anyway.
Jackman. Anyway, oh yeah. So I was saying that.
Okay, so that was on WandaVision, y'all. And I mean, to continue talking about it, I've all caught up now with the most recent episode, so I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I know not everybody is a Marvel fan who will be listening to this. But like Trey said, you know, he has never been one himself, and this show is still worthwhile. They continue to astound me with every episode where I don't know how far they can take it or what else they could do or how else they could blow my mind. And at this point, I'm not going in with any expectations because it's so, they clearly have thought of it. You know what it reminds me of? And it's very, I don't say this very frequently actually, so WandaVision, you've got me here. It's very rare that I find myself liking something at the same level that I enjoy Harry Potter. And I'm talking about not just the films, but also the books. And what I mean by that is, I feel like the world of Harry Potter, of Hogwarts, etc., etc., wizardry, is just so, like, every minute detail is accounted for when you go back and you look through the story. When you rewind and you see the connections between the characters and the scenes and the situations and the circumstances, even the motivations, the choices of the characters in the story, they just all line up from book 1 to book 7. The construction of the story is what is magical. It's what keeps you coming back. It's what makes you want to rediscover it. It makes you want to look for more Easter eggs, for more clues, for more facets of where they overlap and they intersect. And that is happening, y'all, with WandaVision. And we're not even that far in. We're not even that far in. I was hooked from the first episode because it's just so succinctly done. The character work, the storyline, the way they're linking, even honestly, the craziest part, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear a spoiler, just, skip, I would say, I don't know, like a minute in. Skip over 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Who am I kidding? I talk forever. So skip like 2 minutes. But they include Peter, not Pietro, Peter from X-Men, which is different from Pietro, who's used in the Avengers film. And I'm not going to go all the way into it and geek out on y'all, but essentially, in terms of just the agreement between the two production companies, they were never able to overlap those stories. X-Men and the Avengers, they never collaborated. So it would be incredibly unexpected to see an actor who plays one version of that character all of a sudden existing in another universe. Like, it trips you up because it's not only just the TV show now. They've broken the fourth wall. Like, to take Peter from another universe and throw him into this one when that has never really occurred before, it's mind-blowing. It was just so genius. And I love stuff like that. I really geek out on stuff like that. So WandaVision, honestly, y'all, even if you're not into superheroes, if you're into just stories of understanding aspects of the psyche and how that's reflected in how we operate through difficult traumas and grief and power, it's about those overarching themes, which I think a lot of superhero films are a lot about, very overarching themes in that way. So it really just is a connective show. There's just a really fluid DNA that makes it so unique to itself, and I'm really enjoying it. So WandaVision, top marks right now. I have so many other shows, y'all, that I'll recommend down the line. So that's the Rec Room for y'all. This is the end of episode 1, y'all. We made it through. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to talk to y'all again in episode 2. I've got a really cool guest that's going to be on. So have a great rest of your week. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you're staying motivated. Make sure that you're getting rest that you need. I'm saying this to you because I'm saying it to myself. And just remember that you're made of magic and you're powerful and the world is a better place because you're in it. So peace out, y'all. Catch you on the airways next time, sweet peas.